Okay, so a couple of options to start. You can either start lying down or seated in Sukhasana. So if you're in Sukhasana, you're sitting with legs crossed, taking any height that you might want to underneath the sit bones, any support under the knees, the thighs, or between the legs and the feet. If you're coming to lying down, then just seeing if you can take a position that invites a little bit of opening around the groins and the hips. So that might be Baddha Konasana, where you've got the knees out to the sides, the soles of the feet resting together. Or you might have legs outstretched, and just see if you can take the feet out a little wider, perhaps as wide as the mat, letting the feet just drop out to the side. So again, you just got a little bit of opening around the hips. So come to whatever position feels right for you. Just see if you can, without stopping and thinking or overthinking it too much, just coming to what feels right for you in this moment. Taking a moment to settle, to make any physical adjustments so that you're in a position that feels sustainable. And then starting to bring your focus inwards. So either closing your eyes or softening your gaze. And take a moment just to be with the breath. Just notice the breath in its natural state as it comes in, as it goes out. Starting to notice as you inhale where the space is or the expansion is in the body as you inhale. And starting to cultivate a sense on the exhale of the body softening and releasing down towards the ground. And as you do that, maybe it creeps in naturally that the breath lengthens a little, or maybe you might consciously now start to lengthen the breath. But the breath stays easeful, still feels like it's in a natural rhythm. But it might just be that it feels good to just take a bit more time over the inhale as you explore space, expansion in the body. A bit more time over the exhale as you cultivate that sense of the body softening and releasing down into or towards the ground. So noticing on your exhales the points of the body in contact with the ground, having a sense of those parts of the body softening and releasing, spreading into the ground a little more. But also noticing those parts of the body that might not be in contact with or anywhere near the ground, but that you notice have a sense or a response as you exhale of softening and releasing and drawing towards the ground a little more. So just kind of noticing gravity at play, really, if we're thinking in kind of scientific terms, that sense of that we're always being drawn back towards the earth. And for the last few rounds of breath here, seeing if you might have a sense at the bottom of your exhale as you sort of exhale down the body, as you get to the bottom of the exhale, there's a sense of drawing to those parts of the body that are in contact with the ground, those parts of the body growing roots into the ground. And then as you get to the bottom of the exhale, then you start the inhale from that place of rootedness, inhaling up the roots, up the body, through into the space in the body. So there's a sense as you start each inhale and explore, find that spaciousness in the body that's coming from a place of rootedness. Gradually letting that practice go now. So gradually allowing the breath to return to its natural rhythm, letting go of that focus on the body and staying with the breath. So see if you can keep the focus, the mind's focus on the breath. Just be with the breath as it returns to its natural state. Noticing how the breath feels as it comes in, as it goes out. If you want to set an intention for your practice today, then take a moment to do that now. So just seeing what comes up for you, and take a moment to set that intention now if you want to. If you're lying on your back, then take your time to come up to Sukhasana. So you might want to roll over onto one side and pause there for a breath or two, and then draw yourself up, come up in whatever way feels right for your practice right now, and then make your way into Sukhasana, sitting with legs crossed. Or you could come to sitting on an upright chair. And again, if you're able to bring a little bit of openness and space to the hips, then you could, from sitting in your chair, have your knees, your feet a little wider, feet firmly planted on the ground. If you've been in Sukhasana so far, then invitation to change the cross of the leg. So bring the other leg in front. And over time, so it might be that in this moment, that's not a great option for you. It just doesn't feel at all sustainable, and perhaps you don't have the props or support around to make adjustments for that to work. But over time, I'd really encourage you to keep doing this, you know, to kind of go to those places of discomfort. And I don't mean be uncomfortable in your physical position, but just noticing what's coming up for you. If you find that you're consistently saying, no, I can't sit like that with the other leg in front, you know, just checking, you know, have I tried it with blankets rolled up in between the shins and the feet, for example? Have I tried it with more height or more support around the thighs? And just exploring in that way, and always happy to offer further advice on that. Wherever you are, whatever position you're in now, just take a moment to settle again. Come back to the same breath practice that we just took, using the exhale to find that sense of the body softening down, so tops of the shoulders softening down, feeling that softening coming all the way down the body through to the sit bones, maybe envisaging roots growing down into the earth beyond the sit bones, so that when you start the inhale, you're inhaling from a place of rootedness, drawing that inhale up the body, along the spine, maybe at the top of the inhale, feeling a little bit of lift to the chest, and repeating that process a few times. On your next inhale, still having that sense of breathing up along the spine, but bring your arms forwards and up. So fingertips up towards the ceiling, if that feels okay for the shoulders. Other option here would be to have hands on the hips, shoulders drawing back and down. We're staying here for a few breaths. Seeing it on each inhale, you can continue to find that length in the spine and lift in the chest, and also bringing a bit of focus to the side body here now. So finding a sense of a bit more length in the side body. Each time you exhale, still finding a little bit of softening in the tops of the shoulders, that softening coming all the way down through to the sit bones. And maybe as you do that, you notice that the hips release by virtue of the sit bones softening and releasing down. You perhaps notice the hips releasing down towards the ground a little more too. So that from that place of rootedness for the hips as well, there's a sense of the side body, the waist in particular, lengthening up and out of that rootedness, up and out of the hips. Super. Turn the palms to face outwards. As you next exhale, draw the arms out to the sides and down. See if you can keep the shoulders drawing back and down as you do that. Bring the hands all the way down to the floor or to the sides of the chair if you're sitting in a chair. On your next inhale, draw the arms forwards and up. Turn the right palm to face outwards. Exhale, sweep the right arm out to the side and down. Bring the right hand or fingertips to rest on the side of the chair or on the floor next to your right hip. Inhale, reach up with the left fingertips. As you exhale, can you soften down through the left shoulder? Feel that softening coming all the way down through to the left sit bone, the left hip, so that then as you next inhale, you're inhaling from that place of rootedness, bringing some focus to the left waist, the left side body, finding more length there. Continue with the breath in this way. And maybe as you explore that lengthening in the left side body, maybe you start to explore drawing the left hand over towards the right a little, only if it feels like that brings more length to the left side body, but without really shortening the right side body. So if you just kind of end up here, so yeah, you maybe got a bit more length on the left side body, but you've really kind of collapsed the right side body. Better to be drawing further up here. See if you can keep a sense of the left shoulder drawing back and down here, so the shoulder blade is drawing into the back. Great. As you next inhale, come back up to center, sweep the right arm up. Turn the left palm to face out. Exhale, sweep the left arm out to the side and down. Again, left fingertips or hand comes to rest on the floor or the side of the chair. Come back to the breath, come back to that focus on rooting down, exhaling from the top of the shoulder all the way down to the sit bone, to the hip, so that then from that place of rootedness, you're then finding on the inhale some more length in the side body. Maybe you're exploring taking the hand over towards the left, if that feels helpful in the right side body, but the left side body also still retains some length here. If you can find a sense of the right shoulder drawing back and down a bit more. So the shoulder blade is drawing into the back a bit more. Lovely. Inhale back up to center, sweep the left arm back up. Turn palms to face outwards. As you exhale, sweep the arms out to the sides and down. Lovely. And then you could take some rolls of the shoulders in whatever way feels good. So just ease out through the shoulders. Okay. So we'll take some cat-cow movements. You can either take those from your seated position or come to all fours, whichever feels right for you. So if you're going for a sort of gentler isn't a euphemism for easier or anything else that might kind of creep into our heads. But if you're going for a kind of a gentler practice, you might want to take from seated. And again, you could change the cross of the legs before you do that. If you're wanting something just slightly more dynamic, again, that's not a euphemism for like super invigorating or stronger or anything like that, then you might go for all fours. Either way, ease into your cat-cows in your own time. So knowing that on each inhale, you're drawing the shoulders back and down, creating space for the chest to draw forwards and up. Tailbone draws back or draws up if you're in all fours. As you exhale, you're rounding the spine either up towards the ceiling or towards or backwards towards the wall if you're seated, letting the head drop, letting the tailbone tuck under. And just take your time to ease into this movement, focusing first of all on matching the movement to the breath. And then maybe seeing if it feels helpful as you're matching movement to breath, as you're focusing on the breath, see if you can find any sense as you exhale of exhaling down from the shoulders, down the arms, through into the hands, feeling that same kind of rootedness through the hands that we explored previously through the sit bones. And each time you're inhaling, then you're still very much aware of that contact between the hands and the ground and the mat, supporting you, those roots supporting you to then be able to draw the shoulders back, to then be able to find more spaciousness, not just across the chest, but through the whole of the front body. If you're taking from seated, so your hands aren't in contact with the ground, you're still feeling that, like noticing that sense of rootedness. So as you exhale, you can still find that sense of rootedness down through the sit bones and also through that contact between hands and legs. So just really trying to use the breath to help you develop an awareness of that deep rootedness and contact with the ground that supports you so that you can then find space. Right. Okay, coming back to stillness now. If you're seated, come to all fours now. So fingers are spread wide, shoulders are directly above the wrists, hips are directly above the knees. Take a few breaths here and see again if you can find that sense of exhaling down from the shoulders, down the arms, into the hands. So just as we might do when we're standing in mountain pose, find that connection between the feet and the ground. Can you find that with the hands now? And use the breath to help you in that, not perhaps feeling quite such a physical effort, but more that you're energetically finding your way into that deep connection and rootedness into the ground through the hands here. Bring your focus more fully to the left hand now and continue that process with the left hand, breathing down from the shoulder, down the arms, through into the left hand. And if it feels available to you, you could now get a little bit more physical. So try and have a sense of pushing the ground away from you with that left hand. So maybe it even feels like your arm lengthens a little as you do that. On your next inhale, sweep the right arm out to the side. Maybe it even draws up towards the ceiling a little. Keep pressing the ground away from you with the left hand. And then as you exhale, draw the right arm back down across the chest, bend into the left elbow as you then start to bring the right shoulder, right side of the head down onto the mat. So again, the right arm is resting on the ground and the left hand can then relax. So you've got shoulder and side of the head resting on the mat, hips are still above the knees. You can bring support underneath the shoulder or the head if the mat feels too far away. Lovely. So relax with the left hand now. Come back to the breath. Maybe extending the exhale if that feels good. Have a sense of breathing down through into that right shoulder. The shoulders are softening and releasing into the ground a little more. Okay, become active with the left hand again now. So awareness of that contact between the hand and the mat. Start pressing into the left hand a bit more. And then use an inhale to draw yourself back up, reverse the movement. So you then sweep the right arm out to the side again. Maybe it draws up to the sense of the chest revolving a little up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, replace the right hand back down. Once you're there, you could either take a few cat-cow movements or draw back into an extended child's pose or a full child's pose. Whatever feels right for you, you take a few breaths in between sides, allowing the breath to settle, allowing the mind to settle. So whether that's the moving meditation, if you like, of the cat-cow, or whether it's the stillness and being with the breath of child's pose. Okay. Coming back to your all fours, back to stillness. Taking a moment to use the breath to find your rootedness through both hands, first of all. So just watch out for the mind racing ahead, knowing what's coming next. Exhaling down from the shoulders all the way down the arms into the hands. So even if it feels like, if it doesn't feel that accessible kind of in the mind or whatever, to feel like you are breathing out through your hands, just keep focusing on any awareness you can have of the connection that your hands have with the mat each time you exhale. And now bring your focus more fully to your right hand. Keep doing the same thing, just with your right hand now. Exhaling down from the shoulder, down the arm, all the way down through into the hand. Maybe start to press the ground away from you a little more with the right hand. Maybe that feels like the right arm is lengthening a little bit as you do that. So you've still got a flat back. You're not kind of using that press to curl the spine or anything. On your next inhale, sweep the left arm out to the side. Maybe it draws up a little. Keep pressing the ground away from you with the right hand. And then as you exhale, sweep the left arm down across the chest. Bring the left shoulder, the left side of the head down to the mat. Lovely. So kind of pose where if you have a helpful person around that can come and kind of tuck some support under the shoulder or head if you need it, that can be handy. So you can let the right hand be relaxed here now as you settle here for a few breaths. Maybe see how it feels to extend the exhale and just use the exhale to nurture that sense of the shoulder, the left shoulder, softening and releasing down into the mat. Okay, and then starting to prepare to come back up. So press down into the mat with the right hand and then inhale, draw yourself up, sweep the left arm out to the side again. And then exhale, replace it back onto the mat. So from your all fours now, press into the mat with your hands and use that press to curl the spine up towards the ceiling. So we're taking our cat pose, but then keep going with that curl as you press into the mat with the hands and draw your bum back towards your heels. So we're making our way towards the child's pose. Just pause here for a moment, and if it feels okay for you, take the knees a bit wider. So heels stay underneath the bum, big toes are still together, or touch it, just the tips and touching, but the knees are wider. And then you can start to creep the hands forward. So arms are still straight out in front of you, fingers are still spread wide on the mat. Creep the hands forward so that as you do that, the chest draws forward as it comes down until eventually the forehead comes to the mat. Again, you can take height under the forehead to bring the mat up to meet you. And once you're there, you can either stay active through the hands and the arms, so actively pressing the hands into the mat. Arms are active here, lifted up off the mat. Or you can take more support here. You can allow the forearms to rest on the mat, allow the hands to be relaxed. See what feels right for you. And again, once you're there, come back to the breath. See if you can come back to that same kind of process with the breath that we started with. So on each exhale, noticing the parts of the body that are softening and releasing down towards the ground or into the ground. And as you inhale, noticing where the expansion is, where the spaciousness is in the body. So maybe in terms of the parts of the body that feel spacious, that might feel quite different to when we've been seated or lying on the back. And again, the parts of the body in contact with the ground, and even the parts of the body that are softening and releasing may be different, but can you still notice that same quality of experiencing spaciousness in the body and of nurturing, cultivating that sense of connection with the ground through noticing release in the body. Okay, bring the hands alongside the head, palms facing down. Press into the hand, use an inhale to draw yourself up. And then we'll come up to mountain pose via a downward dog and a forward fold. As always, feel free to either come straight up to standing or to join me in forward fold from standing if you don't want to take downward dog. Just a reminder with downward dog, if downward dog on the mat doesn't feel right for you today, you could come to the wall, pressing hands against the wall, feet firmly planted, drawing the hips back as you press the wall away from you with the hands. So that can be a really nice variation to explore. If you're coming to downward dog from the mat, from your all fours, take the hands a little further forward, fingers spread wide, tuck the toes. Find that connection between the hands and the mat again. So although shoulders aren't directly above the wrists now, so there's less gravity working for you, on your next exhale, can you breathe down from the shoulders, down the arms, through into the hands, find a bit more connection. So you can use a bit of muscular action as well, but the breath is supporting you too in finding that connection between the hands and the mat. So it starts to become like you're trying to push the mat away from you with your hands. But it's not just all about muscular effort. Use the breath to support you so this maybe feels a little less effortful in the mind as well as in the body. Draw navel in towards spine, toes are already tucked. Keep that action through the hands. And as you inhale, raise the knees slightly to create space for you to then draw the hips up and back. Keep that strong connection between the hands and the mat. And then taking a few breaths in your downward dog, you can be in stillness. You could focus the breath on breathing again down through the arms into the hands, or you could pedal the feet a little here if that feels good for easing out the hamstrings. You could use the inhale to keep finding that length in the side body that we already explored, as well as length in the spine. However you're taking your downward dog, see if you can keep using your exhale to find that sense of connection with the ground. From downward dog, start to walk your hands back towards your feet, coming into your standing forward fold. Keep the hips lifting high. As you do that, as the weight comes fully into the feet, you can then let the arms, the hands go, let the shoulders hang heavy, let the head, the neck hang heavy. Super. If you've been working on from the wall or standing in your mountain pose, then you're coming into your standing forward fold. From standing, then your hands on the hips, hinge from the hips as you draw the chest forwards and down. A few more breaths in your forward fold. Again, you might extend the exhale. See if you can, as well as finding that sense of release down through the shoulders, the head, the neck, can you use the last few exhales to tune into that connection between the feet and the ground here. So just as we did with the sit bones, can you find a sense of exhaling down through into the feet, maybe in visualizing roots drawing down from the soles of the feet into the earth, being as you come down to the bottom of your exhale. Okay, on your next inhale, come to a halfway lift, shoulders drawing back, chest drawing forward. Pause there for a couple of breaths. See if you can keep finding that sense of rootedness down through the feet. Lovely. Exhale back down to your forward fold. Find that connection with the feet. Maybe even see if you can find any sense of more actively pushing down through the feet into the ground. So even if it feels like nothing happens, just think it anyway. And then you can either have hands on the hips or prepare to sweep the arms up as you hinge from the hips, draw the chest forwards and up, coming all the way up to standing. Lovely. Release the hands down. Come to step at the top of your mat, be in your mountain pose. Take a moment in your mountain pose. See if you can come back to that same work with the breath that we started with. So once you've gone through that process of checking in the sort of physical aspects of being in your mountain pose, feet firmly planted, evenly weighted, tailbone drawing down, shoulders drawing back and down. Then see if you can come to the breath. Exhaling, as you exhale, feel the tops of the shoulders soften, feel that softening coming, that releasing coming all the way down the body through to the feet, visualizing perhaps roots drawing down into the earth, so that then you start your inhale from that place of rootedness, drawing that inhale up the body, up the spine, maybe finding a bit of lift in the chest. Continue like this for a few rounds. Okay, bring palms of the hands together in front of the heart. Just taking a moment with either eyes closed or the gaze soft and cast down. If you set an intention at the start of your practice, then take a moment to recall that now. On your next inhale, sweep the arms up, or you could bring hands to the hips. As you exhale, hinge from the hips, draw the chest forwards and down. We're coming down to our forward fold. As you next inhale, come to a halfway lift. exhale to your forward fold. Plant those hands on the mat in front of and slightly wider than the feet. Use an inhale to see if you can bring a bit more weight forwards into the hands. And then as you exhale, draw the right foot back, draw the back knee down, coming to a low lunge. Take your time to make any adjustments in your low lunge. So you've got some opening around that, the back spine, particularly the back groin, the right groin. Then bring your right hand to where your right foot just was before it steps back. So palm of the hand if you can, or fingertips if that's what's available to you, or if you've got blocks or anything, you could place that underneath the hand to bring a bit more height. Exhale, so the left hand is just kind of resting loosely on the mat at the moment where it was before. As you next exhale, see if you can have a sense of exhaling down into the right hand and the left foot, finding a bit more rootedness there. Maybe press the mat away from you, particularly with the right hand a little more. And then as you next inhale, sweep the left arm out to the side and up. Lovely, just pause there for a couple of breaths. So you're finding that rotation of the chest up towards the ceiling, fingertips reaching up. Super. As you next exhale, bring the left hand back down, and then you can take both hands just slightly in front of the foot again, so back to where they were. Tuck the back toes and inhale the back knee up. As you next exhale, step the back foot forward so you're coming back to your forward fold. Lovely. Pause there for a few breaths. Maybe extend the exhale if that feels good. Super. Inhale to a halfway lift. Exhale to a forward fold. Plant both hands again. Take a breath here, take an inhale to bring a bit more weight into the hands. And then as you exhale, draw the left foot back, draw the back knee down. So we're coming to low lunge on the other side. Take a moment to make any adjustments in your low lunge. And when you're ready, take your time, but when you're ready, bring your left hand to where your left foot was. Take a few breaths here where you're using the exhale to find a sense of rootedness down through the right foot and the left hand. See if you can get a bit more active with that left hand, pushing the mat away from you with the left hand. And when you're ready, use an inhale to draw the right hand out to the side and up. So you can, if this isn't feeling right for you with the arm raise, you could bring hands onto the hip, draw the shoulder back and down, see how that feels. So find that sense of expansion right across the chest from shoulder point to shoulder point. Lovely. Keep pushing the mat away from you with the hands so you've got strong connection there. Super. On your next exhale, bring the right hand back down and then take both hands back to the original position, so in front of the foot. Tuck the back toes. Inhale, draw the back knee up. Exhale, step the back foot forward. So again, you're back in your forward fold. Use your next inhale to come to a halfway lift. As you next exhale, come back down to your forward fold. And then as you inhale, drawing yourself back up. So pressing down into the ground with your feet, inhaling, hinging from the hips, drawing the chest forward, and that you can sweep the arms up or have hands on the hips. And then as you exhale, you're bringing palms of the hands together in front of the heart. Take your time to get there, just knowing that once you are, you're then bringing the arms back alongside you into your full mountain pose. Pause there for a moment. Be in mountain pose. come back to that focus on mountain pose. So just thinking about those physical cues that we go through very often in mountain pose. So finding that sense, starting with the feet, so finding that sense of connection between the feet and the mat. See if you can become more aware of that just over the next few breaths. All the parts of the foot in contact with the mat. Are there parts of the foot that could have a little more contact? Are there parts of the foot that are taking a bit too much of the weight? Can you even that out through some just subtle changes? Using each exhale to find that sense of rootedness. And then bringing your focus to the pelvis, so that instruction to the body to draw the tailbone down if that feels helpful, or it might feel more helpful to think of that tilt of the pelvis so that the lower back stays long, but also that in doing that, you're activating the glutes here. And maybe, perhaps you might notice as the glutes become more active, as you draw the tailbone down or the pelvis tilts and the glutes are more active, that brings a little bit more openness around the groins, so the kind of the front of the hips, if you like. Super. Okay, so bring your focus more fully to your left foot. And see if you can, again, find that sense of rootedness down through the left foot. So just as we worked with the hands earlier, shifting focus to one hand, can you shift focus to the left foot now? Exhale down through the left leg into the left foot, finding that rootedness a little more. And maybe then starting to feel like perhaps you're kind of trying to push the ground away from you a little more with that left foot. Again, if it doesn't feel like anything happens there, just keep that focus on the left foot, particularly on each exhale. Bring your hands onto your hips, find a point to gaze at a few feet in front of you. As you next inhale, raise the right heel so you're on the ball of the left foot, or you might see how it feels to come up onto the very tiptoe of the right foot, if that feels okay. As you next exhale, breathing down through the left leg into the left foot, having a strong sense of rootedness there. If it feels more helpful to the body to have a micro bend in the left knee, feel free to do that, or you can keep it straight. So from here, you can either stay here with the tiptoe and use an exhale to draw the right knee out to the side. Or if you're feeling okay with the balance here and want to explore that further, then use an inhale to raise the right knee up to hip height. Then you can take the right hand onto the right knee. Exhale, draw the right knee out to the side. As you do that, so whichever action you're taking, whether you've got the toe or ball of the foot in contact with the mat, or whether you've got the knee raised, just bring your left hand to the front of the left hip, so kind of to the groin area, and just check that that stays in place, so that doesn't follow the right knee around to the right. So you want to keep that kind of drawing back, and notice how the action of the left glute can really help with that. So keep the tailbone drawing down to help you keep that left hip, that left groin in place. Lovely. And then be there for a few breaths. So we're exploring variations on tree pose here. You're very welcome, if you want to take any other variations on tree pose that feel good for you. But this isn't a kind of like, there are no rules to say that you need to kind of take tree pose as we might picture it, even if you can. Yeah, maybe this is what feels most helpful right now. We're wanting to find that opening around the groin, around the hip. Super. Okay, so wherever you are now, use an inhale to draw the knee back to center, and then an exhale to replace the foot fully onto the floor. If you want to kind of have a bit of a shake out in any way that feels good, feel free to do that now. Focus on the feet again. Just take a few breaths to find that sense of rootedness, balance through both feet. Then bring the focus more fully to the right foot. Take a few breaths there. So again, watch out for the mind racing ahead here. Really take the time to find that sense of rootedness and connection through the right foot. And again, it might feel helpful to have a point to gaze at a few feet in front of you on the floor for balance. As you then inhale, raise the left heel, maybe come up onto the left toes. Even if you think you're going to take the knee up, take a few breaths here anyway. Just really bringing patient awareness to that sense of rootedness down through the right foot, through the right leg. Keep breathing down through that leg into that foot. Try and have a sense of almost trying to push the ground away from you with that right foot. So you're really feeling that that kind of rebound energy from that, drawing up the leg, feeling a bit more length, maybe feeling a bit more strength. And then you can either keep the toe or the ball of the foot of the left foot in contact with the mat and exhale the knee out to the left, or you can inhale, raise the left knee up to hip height, take the left hand onto the knee, and then draw the knee out to the side. Either way, keep the right hip facing forward, so keep the right groin open here. Be aware of the role that the right glute plays in helping you to do that. And then come to the breath. So as we play with balance, be prepared to come in and out of the balance, just using that as an opportunity to notice what comes up for you, maybe in the mind as much as anything else. Super. Okay, and then inhale the knee back to center. Exhale, replace the foot. And again, you might have a little bit of a wiggle or shake out if that feels good. So we'll come to step wide on the mat now. We're setting up for triangle pose. So usually having the feet about a leg's length apart is about right for most people. So if you can kind of figure out what that is, then coming to that. Once you're there, go through the same process that you have in Tadasana, in mountain pose. So find that rootedness through the feet. In fact, let's just set up more fully for triangle pose with the feet before you do that. So pivot on the heel, of the left foot, and turn it out 90 degrees so that the left toes are now pointing towards the short edge of the mat. And then from there now, bring focus to the feet. So bring an awareness to where the weight is coming down through the feet, where it isn't. Any work that you can do with the feet here so that they feel a little more evenly rooted, not just from one foot to the other, but within each foot, that there's weight coming down into the heels as well as the front of the foot. There's weight coming into the inner edge as well as the outer edge. See if you can find a bit more of a sense of actively pushing the feet into the ground. So that might start to feel, start by feeling like much harder work physically, but can you then use the breath to soften that feeling of effort? So nothing really changes in terms of what's going on in the body, but as you exhale, have a feeling of exhaling down through the legs into the feet, finding that rootedness. Tailbone is drawing down, so the glutes are active. Inhale the arms up to shoulder height. Bring your gaze over your left fingers if that feels okay for the neck. You can keep the head facing forward if that feels better. Keep pressing into the feet, and as you next exhale, draw the left hand forward. Let the upper body come with it, but don't let the right hip release out to the right to give you more space there. So keep the right hip hugging in, even if it feels like that means you don't go nearly as far as you could if you let that right hip go. once you've kind of gone wherever you're going to get to, use your next exhale to just release the left hand down. Let it, it can dangle down, it can rest very lightly on the leg, but you're not trying to get any further down as you do that. Just let it go. And then the right hand can either come onto the right hip, or you can raise the right arm up, so fingertips drawing up towards the ceiling. Keep pressing down through the feet, keep the tailbone drawing down so that you're active through the glutes. The glutes can help support you here in keeping an openness around the left groin and the right groin, in fact. So we're wanting to stay open around the groins. And then 5, from that place of rootedness, you're breathing into the space across the chest here. There's a sense of the chest trying to revolve up towards the ceiling here. Maybe on the right side, as you press that anchor down into the right foot, there's a sense of length along the side body too. Lovely. Okay, press down into your feet. As you inhale, draw yourself back up. And then exhale the arms down, pivot on the heel of the left foot, bringing it back to face towards the long edge of the mat. And then take your time to set up to the other side, so pivoting on the ball of the right foot now. Take some time here then to check in with the feet again, feeling that sense of rootedness down through both feet. Feeling like you're almost trying to press the ground, push the ground away from you a bit more with the feet. And then use the exhales to kind of soften that feeling of effort if you can. And if that doesn't really feel like it works or resonates for you, no problem. Maybe you spend a few breaths focusing on the feet, and then you just come to the breath, focusing on the exhale, focusing on that sense of softening and releasing towards the ground, from the shoulders all the way down the body through to the feet. Tailbone drawing down, so glutes are active, the groin stay open here. Inhale, raise the arms up to shoulder height. If it feels okay for the neck, you can bring the gaze over the right fingers. Keep pressing into the feet. As you exhale, draw forwards with the right fingers. Keep the left hip hugging in. And then when you're ready, you can let the right hand just release down. Left hand either raises up towards the ceiling or comes to the hip. If you're bringing the hand onto the hip, then focus on drawing the shoulder back and down. So you're still focusing on that sense of expansion across the chest, from shoulder point to shoulder point. So again, it's as if the chest is trying to revolve up towards the ceiling. The head can be in a neutral position, or you could be looking up towards the ceiling, if that feels okay for the neck. Keep using your exhale to find that rootedness, connection with the ground down through the feet, so that then from that place of rootedness, you can breathe up into that space across the chest. Great. And then press down into your feet as you inhale, draw yourself all the way back up. And then exhale the arms down. Pivot on the heel of the forward foot so that toes are facing towards the long edge of the mat again. Bring your hands onto your hips. Take a couple of breaths here to find rootedness down through both feet again, a sense of evenness, even weightedness across each foot, tailbone drawing down. See if you can press the feet into the ground a little more. Take an inhale, hands on the hips, drawing the shoulders back and down, bringing a bit more lift to the chest. And then as you exhale, keep pressing into the feet as you hinge from the hips, draw the chest forward and down. So we're coming to a forward fold. Same process as when we're in our normal standing forward fold with feet hip width apart. So you'll get to a certain point, and then just as long as it feels okay for the back, you're just then letting the head and the neck go, let the shoulders go. You can release the hands down, and they can either rest on the outer edges of the legs, wherever feels comfortable, or if it's within very easy reach, you can bring the hands or the fingertips to rest on the mat or on the ground underneath the head. So don't strive to reach the floor.
but just know that you can rest the hands on the floor if that's available to you. Keep pressing down into the feet, and through that press in the feet, maybe see if you can have a sense of the hips lifting a little more here. Using that lift of the hips to create more space for the upper body to release down. Great. If you're resting your hands on the outer edges of your legs, bring the hands forwards now so that they can make contact with the ground. So however far in front of you that is, and it can just be fingertips on the ground, that's fine. But just make sure that one way or another, you've got some contact between the hands and the ground now. And then once you've done that, bring a bend to the knees. So the knees are bent now. Press into the feet as you bring hands onto the hips, and then inhale, hinge from the hips, draw the chest forward and up. Exhale, release the hands down, and then you can heel toe the feet back together. And then make your way down onto your back. So we're coming towards our Shavasana. So you might want to have anything handy for your Shavasana. We'll just take a final twist before we come into Shavasana. So once you're on your back, just take a moment with knees hugging into the chest. Lovely. Okay. Keep the left knee hugging into the chest. Exhale, release the sole of the right foot down onto the mat. You can just let the right arm rest down on the ground wherever it feels comfortable right now. And then use another exhale to slide the right foot away from you so the right leg is then resting out long on the mat. So it doesn't need to be active, it's just resting there. Bring the right hand onto the left knee now, and now you can release the left hand and let the left arm rest on the ground at shoulder height, either fully outstretched or it could be bent at the elbow in more of a cactus shape. Take an inhale, and then as you exhale, draw the left knee over to the right. So the left hip draws up off the mat, draws over to the right, and stacks above the right hip. And the left leg doesn't need to be in contact with anything. And of course, you can, particularly if you have more time, if you're practicing this on recorded, you could grab support to place underneath the left knee if you wanted to, but it can just be here for a few breaths now. The right hand can be wherever feels comfortable, supporting the leg or resting on the ground. And then inhaling back to center. You can hug the left knee in, maybe bring both hands onto the knee for a moment to hug it in. And then exhale the sole of the left foot down onto the mat. Rebend the right leg so the sole of the right foot is on the mat. And then use an inhale to draw the right knee in towards you. Then you could take both hands onto the right knee to hug it in a little. And then exhale, slide the left foot away from you so the left leg is resting out long on the mat. Keep the left hand on the right knee, release the right arm so that's resting at shoulder height. And then when you're ready, use an exhale to draw the right knee over to the left. So right hip draws up off the mat, draws over to the left, stacks above the left hip. And again, then the left hand can be wherever feels comfortable. Super. And inhale back to center. You could hug the knee in one more time if you want to. And then exhale the foot down and make your way into your Shavasana. So coming to
whatever position feels right for you. So that you can start to release effort. And you might want to start your Shavasana today, coming back to that awareness of our connection with the ground, maybe using the exhales to cultivate that sense of the body releasing into the ground. Awareness of all the points of contact that your body has with the ground, perhaps feeling on each exhale that there's a sense of them softening, spreading, releasing into the ground a little more. And you could continue your Shavasana in this way. Or you might choose to let that go after a few breaths and stay with the breath as you allow the breath to be in its natural rhythm. Spending a few moments now simply being with the breath, knowing that this space is held for you while you do that. Starting now to bring some deeper breaths into your body. Slowly bringing some movement back to your body. Maybe wiggling fingers and toes, perhaps rotating wrists and ankles. Taking any movements now, any stretches, sighs, yawns, anything that feels good as you bring your full awareness back to your body. Taking your time to make your way back up to a comfortable seated position. Having your eyes closed or your gaze soft as you do that. And taking a moment once you're there if you set an intention at the start of your practice, to recall that intention now. Bringing palms of the hands together in front of the heart. Taking a moment to be grateful to yourself for making the time for this practice today. And a moment for us to be grateful that we have this practice of yoga available to us, and that we have this means of connection available to us so that we can gather and practice together. And if you want to, you could take a moment now to think of anything else in your life that you're grateful for right now. Bowing your head towards your fingertips. Namaste. Releasing whenever you're ready. Thank you guys, lovely to practice with you.